This week in Jamaica Now,
this budget is a sham.
Finance spokesman Peter Phillips rips into the government's budget, saying the numbers do not add up. And Portia Simpson-Miller says it's not prosperity, it's taxperity. Jamaican dollar rapidly losing value. The Chamber of Commerce wants urgent interventions. Anguish in Kingston as 2 children perish in an early morning blaze. And the latest in the case of the school principal whose penis was bitten in an attack in Portmore. The details of these and other stories coming up after the break. It's the Great Exhibition, Jamaica's Gleaner 180, an epic journey with the people. Politics, sports, culture, and so much more. Reliving the moments, recapturing the mission. Jamaica's Gleaner 180, chronicling Jamaica's history. Get your copy today at the Gleaner's main offices in Kingston, Montego Bay, Ocho Rios, and Mandeville, or at the RJR Gift Shop, 32 Linters Road, Kingston 10. I'm Damian Mitchell in This Week for Carleen Brown, and this is Jamaica Now. The opposition this week continued its hammering of the government's $580 billion budget, with the spokesman on finance, Dr. Peter Phillips, calling it a sham, saying the numbers are not adding up. In his contribution to the budget debate on Tuesday, Dr. Phillips questioned whether the figures were politically contrived, saying they do not account for some impending expenditure with the removal of auxiliary fees, for example.
On both the recurrent side and on the revenue side, this budget is a sham. It is unreliable. It was put together to satisfy a JLP election promise, which was not feasible at the very outset.
2 days later, the opposition leader, Portia Simpson-Miller, told Gordon House that the budget would further burden the poor, with all Jamaicans facing a $13.7 billion tax package to plug the $12.5 billion the government is giving up to increase the income tax threshold from $592,000 to $1 million.
I speak of that unemployed single mother with her children to support. The NIS pensioner taking home $5,600 per fortnight. Household helpers, gardeners, the elderly, and persons with disabilities. These are the hundreds of thousands of Jamaicans who will not benefit from the announced income tax relief.
And political commentator Kevin O'Brien Chang says he does not believe the government will honor its commitment to increase the income tax threshold to $1.5 million next year. According to Mr. Chang, the government will not be able to afford it.
That's going to be 20 billion extra in taxes or 18 billion. I don't know where that's going to come from. That's just politics. I think the 1 million, they did it to spread it out to get more people, 250,000 benefiting, more votes. And then I think the extra next year is a wing and a prayer, as they say. They're hoping the economy grows and all goes down, so they'll be able to do it next year. But as it stands now, I don't find that very credible. That second part. But, you know, the public, we only think of today, not next year.
In the meantime, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the government is exploring with the World Bank an innovative debt swap initiative to improve Jamaica's profile. Mr. Holness, speaking at a press conference at the annual meeting of the Board of Governors of the Caribbean Development Bank in St. James, said the initiative included a debt for nature and resilience swap and a policy-based guarantee. Still on the economy, the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce on Friday raised concern about the increasing rate of the weakening of the Jamaican dollar, warning that it will lead to an erosion of confidence which could contribute to a further devaluation, increased inflation, and a damper on investments. The Jamaican dollar has dropped from $120.24 to $1 in January to $125.33 up to May 19, and the JCC says the Bank of Jamaica should urgently intervene. There was anguish in the Crossroads community of Heathfield Road, Kingston this week, where 2 siblings were burned to death in an early morning fire. Despite efforts to save them, 10-year-old Naima Barrett and 4-year-old Shaim Green died in the blaze said to have been started by a mosquito destroyer. The man accused of biting the penis of a St. Andrew School principal and stabbing him in Portmore, St. Catherine, has been released on bail in the sum of $200,000 on charges of wounding and larceny of a motor vehicle. In court this week, the man's attorney, Ernest Smith, said the incident happened while his client was defending his integrity after the principal forced himself onto the accused. The police this week increased their threat level to high after a district constable was ambushed and shot and injured on Maxfield Avenue in Kingston on Thursday. And in a separate attack, a Hanover couple, 56-year-old Balford Firebird Gordon and 45-year-old Alita Brown Gordon, were abducted from their home in Elgin Town and murdered in the community of Mosquito Cove on Wednesday night. A third victim, who was also shot, managed to escape and is now in protective custody. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. You may tune in to Power 106 FM for regular updates. Follow us on Twitter at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. I'm Damian Mitchell, and before we go, more from Peter Phillips about what he calls the Sham budget.
The path that they have chosen will mean not only the increase in taxes this year and the possible more increases even in the course of this fiscal year, but almost certainly, as not only we have said, but the members of EPOC have said, will mean another massive tax hike in the next year. We intend to protect the gains that have been made by the Jamaican people to ensure that a sound platform is laid that will deliver growth, more jobs, higher paying jobs, and an improved quality of life through the delivery of effective social services in healthcare, in education, in security, in protection of our children, and other areas.